Hey guys, welcome back to the Laid Back Homestead. I'm Crystal, and today we're in my kitchen. This is kind of a what's for dinner on the homestead episode. I have 3 recipes I'm making for tonight's dinner. 2 of them are side dishes, and they are completely new to me recipes, so that's exciting. And then one of the recipes I've made 100 times, and that's the one we're going to get started with first. I'm actually going to be roasting a whole chicken in my slow cooker. And I've done this several times. I've been making this for years now, and it always comes out perfect. Now, of course, I will have all 3 of the recipes linked in the description box below. So let's get cooking. Okay, so this is a very easy and simple recipe. And you can put it in your slow cooker and it'll cook for a few hours while you do other things, which is perfect for my lifestyle. So all you need is, well, obviously a chicken. And then the spice blend is brown sugar, granulated garlic or garlic powder, onion powder, salt and pepper, and smoked paprika. Back there. I'm also going to be adding in some of my compound butter that I made. This is a sage, rosemary, and thyme blend. So I'll add a few cubes of that in on the chicken as well. And that's all you need. So to get started, I'm actually going to go ahead and mix up the seasoning blend first, and then we will get the chicken into the slow cooker. So if I'm remembering correctly, the recipe off the top of my head, I mean, that's how many times I've made it. I believe it is a half teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm going to do a whole teaspoon. That's just a personal preference. Onion powder. 2 teaspoons of salt. 1 teaspoon of black pepper. And then a tablespoon of brown sugar. And a tablespoon of smoked paprika. Now, if you don't have smoked paprika, I've made it with regular paprika. If I could talk today. And it turns out just fine. And then I'm just going to mix this all together. Try to crunch up. My brown sugar is a little hard, so I need to crunch some of that up. This recipe actually calls for you to take a piece of aluminum foil and roll it up into a ring and set that at the bottom of your crock pot. I actually have this out of my Instapot. And so I just use this. When I make this recipe, it fits in here perfectly fine. To make my life easier, I went ahead and opened this in a bowl to catch all of the liquid and juices. Sometimes I get the whole chickens and they don't have any of the organ meat in the inside. This particular one did. So I always do go and check, remove that. It's not something my family's really interested in eating. And so now we just have to get the chicken into the slow cooker. You can certainly lay the bird out and season both sides of the chicken. I am not that worried about it. You want to just go ahead and get it in there. Breast side up. All right, so now you just take your rub and put it all over. I start by just kind of sprinkling it, and then I'm going to go in with my hands. And I just went ahead and added my butter. And that's it. We're going to set this to high and cook for about 4 hours. While my chicken is cooking away, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts are going to come together really quickly, but I am trying to prep as much as possible. It's a busy afternoon. My kids have karate, and I'm just trying to get dinner on the table as quickly as possible. So I'm going to go ahead, get my Brussels sprouts in some olive oil, and for convenience, I bought the ones already prepped. And then we'll go ahead and mix up. This is all the ingredients for the sauce. And I'll just go ahead and get it all together. That way, after I cook the Brussels sprouts, we can just toss them in the sauce and we'll be good to go. You will need some honey, olive oil to coat your Brussels sprouts, paprika, chili powder, crushed red pepper, salt, and maple syrup. It says to use original maple syrup or pure maple syrup. I don't have that, so I am using what I have, and hopefully it will turn out fine. I am going to go ahead and just get these into the bowl and toss with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to eyeball this and then mix it. Just want to make sure that all of our Brussels are covered. Fun fact, if you grow your own Brussels sprouts and you have not so great luck like I do, you can actually eat the young Brussels sprout leaves right off of the plant, and they are just as delicious as the actual Brussels sprouts. We roasted those up earlier in the season when we were still getting some Brussels sprout growth. So worst case scenario, if you try to grow them and you don't actually get any sprouts, go ahead and roast up the leaves, especially the younger leaves at the top. So delicious. I forgot to mention in the beginning when going over the ingredients for the sauce, you will need 2 tablespoons of melted butter as well. And I am going to mix the sauce up, even though we are not eating this for several hours, but I figured if I let the sauce sit, it'll have time for all the flavors to meld. And so hopefully that's the right choice. So we need 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. And this is the first time I've ever making this recipe, so I will be following it exactly without ad-libbing. 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder. It calls for 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then it calls for 2 teaspoons of honey, 2, and 1 teaspoon of your maple syrup. Now I'm just going to mix that all together. While the oven is preheating to 450 degrees, we're going to take our oil slicked Brussels sprouts and we're going to lay them out on a baking sheet, cut side down. Now some of these are so big that it's all cut sides. So just do the best you can. If there is a cut side, flip it over. Again, I've never made this recipe before, so I'm really excited. My husband loves Brussels sprouts. I think I got all of them. See this one? This one's got, it's all cut side. I mean, what you gonna do? And these will go into the oven for 10 minutes, and then we will take them out, flip them over, and put them back in for another 10 to 15 minutes. We are at 450 degrees. We're gonna go in for the first 10 minutes. Alrighty, we now have some good crispy going on. Not sure if you can see that. So these have been going for 10 minutes and now we're gonna flip them over, and it says to go back in either 10 to 15 minutes. I'm only gonna do 10 minutes because I decided to change my mind yet again, and I'm pre-cooking these right now. And I'm not going to serve them until, well, dinner time. So I'm going to do 10 minutes this way, and then I'm going to let them sit. And then right before I go to serve, I'm just going to pop them back in for maybe, 5 more minutes to get them nice and rewarmed. And just in case they do go soft on me, I'll be able to get them crispy again. Now that I've got everybody flipped over, we're going to pop it right back on in for 10 more minutes. Well, the Brussels sprouts are done. All that's left is to just toss them in the sauce before we go to eat tonight. The chicken is cooking away, and that means I only have one recipe left to get done, and that is the creamed corn. And I'm really excited about this. I have never made homemade creamed corn before. And in fact, thinking back over my life, I think the only cream corn I've ever had came out of a can. So this should be really interesting, and probably the one I'm most excited to try. All right, we have our last recipe, our homemade cream corn. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this cooking. Obviously, you're gonna need corn. You're gonna need a couple tablespoons of flour, half cup of milk, a couple tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of heavy cream, salt and black pepper pretty much to taste at this point, and then a little bit of Parmesan cheese at the end. So in a large skillet, we're gonna heat up our butter. We're also gonna add our corn. Now this said to have your corn thawed. Mine is not thawed, but I think that'll be okay. You're also gonna add in, calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar, which, and since this is the first time I'm making this recipe, I am following it exactly. And yes, I do have a toddler sitting over there off to the side that you can see. And you're gonna add your heavy cream. And now I'm gonna let this heat through. Now, while your corn is heating, I went ahead and added the 2 tablespoons of flour to the milk, and you're just gonna whisk that in until it's fully incorporated. I almost forgot, at this point, you're also gonna add in your salt and peppers. And since my pan doesn't cook evenly on this stove, I am gonna go ahead and get this moving around, because the last thing I want is for anything to scald. You're just gonna stir this until your butter is melted and all the way heated through. And then we will add in our milk and flour mixture and cook that down for another 4 minutes until it's nice and thickened. All right, I'm going in with the milk and flour mixture next. And we're gonna stir this for about 4 minutes or until thickened. Now, I did read that this is another one of those recipes that you can make in advance and then heat up, the night of. So if you're into meal prepping, you can certainly do that. If it comes out a little bit thicker when you go to reheat it, they just had to add a splash more milk or cream or something to help loosen it. But we're gonna be eating this tonight as is. I just thought I would offer that suggestion up if you're somebody who needs to do a lot of meal prepping, or you're living that meal prepping lifestyle. All right, so this is thickened up nicely, and I think it's gonna continue to thicken while it cools. So I'm actually gonna turn off the heat, and I'm gonna add in a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And I'm not really measuring. That looks about a 1/4 cup to me. Alrighty, so we switched off on our crock pot and we are above temp. So we are good to go. I don't know why my phone is making the chicken look green. The chicken is not green. It's picking up the seasonings that way, which is very odd. Now, I did want to just say, and I'm sorry if you can hear my toddler in the background, I did want to say, though, that if you are the type that really wants an extra crispy skin, you can take it out at this point and pop it under the broiler. Since my family is not bothered by that and they typically just pull the skin off anyway, I don't do that extra step on a busy work night. But if I was gonna, serve this to guests, if I was hosting and this was gonna be, part of the meal, I would probably take the extra time to do that last step. What we will do now that it's fully cooked, we're gonna just pull it apart. And then, I don't know if you can tell, but at the bottom, there's a lot of its own drippings and juice. And we just set the meat in there to kind of rehydrate and serve it as is. Timer is up. And now we just need to toss these in the glaze that we made earlier, and dinner is served. I'm just gonna pour my glaze in. And I did go back and pop this in the microwave just to make sure it was liquid enough. I'm just gonna stir that with my spatula to to combine. And there we have it. All right, guys, there is the completed dinner spread for a busy weeknight. And I will just add, I did go ahead and taste test both of these off camera just to adjust for seasonings. Both of these recipes were really good. Absolute winners. We'll make again. If you don't like really sweet corn, you can always cut back on the sugar in that recipe, but my family loves sweet things, so this is going to be a game changer for them. And don't forget to save your bones from your carcass to make homemade bone broth. And if you have any easy weeknight recipes you'd like to share, please comment them down below. Well, guys, that wraps up dinner for tonight. Just one example of what we eat around here. If you are into cooking content, homesteading content, or gardening content, I encourage you to subscribe. As always, until next time, stay blessed.